Hi guys, it's Judy here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Something that I hope will maybe turn into a series, possibly here on my channel, depending on how many of these types of plants that I get. So in today's video, I am going to be reviving or giving a little bit of TLC to a couple plants that really desperately need it. So here I have two Kentia palms. These have been submitted to my care from my church. They have been sitting in a space that don't currently have any light or any warmth or anything. They probably got watered maybe like once a month. From the feel of the soil, they haven't been watered for a very long time. Considering they didn't get any light or warmth at all, they probably soaked up the water very slowly, so that wasn't too much of an issue. But the fact that they didn't get any light or warmth or any care at all probably was definitely the reason why they're looking as sad as they do today. This one plant here has a couple dying leaves. One of the base of the stems or the stalks has completely broken off, and I need to cut that one out and just take off all the dead foliage on the plant. I need to look it over and make sure that that's the only thing that is wrong with it, and if it is, then I'm going to just repot it or mix up some fresh soil into its existing soil and just give it an overall facelift if anything. I don't think either of these plants are past hope. I believe that they still have some life in them. They just need a bit of care, and going forward from here, when I put them back in their space, they will need to be brought closer to a source of light, because currently the space that they had been living in didn't have any light at all whatsoever. So if we are going to start putting new plants within the space, I'm going to recommend something more like the ZZ plant or a Sansevieria, plants that are more tolerant to low light situations. This particular situation that these plants came from was actually a no light situation, so I might even recommend putting fake plants in that space. I'm not sure. And if we were wanting to put real plants in there, yes, Sansevieria or ZZ plant would probably be the best varieties to put within that space. But yeah, my job today is simply to give these plants some TLC. I'm most likely going to change the soil, put some fresh soil. I've looked these plants over. I don't think they have any pests in them. They haven't had any other plants or vegetation or nature around them to really introduce any other pests. So I think they're pretty safe on that side of things. I will, however, still give them a very good wash down and spray over with neem oil. Speaking of pests, when I brought these plants within my space here to take care of them, I made sure that they didn't come in contact with any of my other plants in case they did have pests or they did have some sort of disease or fungal infection. I didn't know what I was bringing into my home, so I just made sure that they were separate from all the other plants as I'm potting them. Also, I have this mat on the floor because I could do this outside. It's probably a job that I should do outside, but it's currently 9 degrees out there and I'm not going out there. So here it is, within my home it is, and I put this mat down on the floor so it's an easy cleanup. Hopefully, that's the plan anyway. Okay, I'm gonna get started, and I guess I'll just talk through the process with you guys as I'm doing it. So I'm going to start off by taking them out of their cover pots so it's just a bit easier. Okay, these cover pots have a whole bunch of cobwebs in them, so they clearly haven't been taken out for a while. I'm going to clean out those cover pots later on before I put these plants back in. Just give this the overall, you know, the works, the overall detailing and TLC that they need. Okay, I'm going to start with this one because this one looks like it needs the most care. I need a pair of scissors or secateurs, that'll do. As you can see here, it's leaning over, and that's because one of the main stalks has actually snapped off completely from the base of the plant. I did look at this plant several months ago and it wasn't this bad, but I think the base of it had actually rotted away because it had come through an inconsistent watering. It had been dry for a super long time, and then I think someone like watered it twice in a week, maybe, I don't know, but someone has made an attempt to wrap it up. It probably did need a stake if it was leaning over this much, but this branch is completely gone. Like, it's dead. Well, this one leaf is on its way to dying and the rest of it is completely dead. There's just no roots there at all. So that frond can go. There is a chance I might even pot these two together to make one larger plant and they're just gonna have to get a new plant to fill up the other pot, but I'm not sure. We'll see how I go. But I feel like these two plants would be happier potted together, and it'll look a lot more lush and full as well. Because currently here, if I were to take off these dead leaves, then we won't be left with very much at all. Just gonna take that off. And it looks like this was supposed to be a new growth point, but it looks like it's died off. The base of it is still quite green and still quite firm, so maybe it might still grow into something if I leave it. So I'm gonna leave that and see just keep an eye on it over the next few months. The rest of the plant itself just looks really sad. It's been very inconsistently watered, and the soil itself is like a cocoa coir medium. It looks like it's very fast draining, which is great if it's a plant that does get consistent care, but I think I'm going to have to mix this with some soil that will retain the moisture a little bit longer because it doesn't get consistent watering. So I've taken off those dead leaves. Actually, this one looks like it's on its way out. It actually looks kind of diseased. It's got those little brown spots in it, so I'm just gonna take that one off. The rest of the plant looks fine. I think it does have hope to continue living. It just needs a bit of a wash and a spray over with neem oil, and definitely needs a repot. I might actually tie these two together. I'm gonna continue to take off all the dead growth at the base of the pot just to remove that and remove any potential diseases or bacterial growth. Once this medium gets wet again, it might possibly produce mold. So I'm just taking off all the rotted bits at the bottom there and leaving anything that might still give it life. All right, so I think, looks like all the dead bits are off that one. So I'm gonna put that aside and give a little bit of attention to this one here. This one doesn't look as bad. It still has a fair bit of death around it, but it's not as bad. So it's actually kind of sad. There was a whole new growth bit coming out here, but it didn't get enough moisture in the soil, so it's completely died out. So I'm just gonna cut all that dead bit off and hope that some new growth points come through anyway. That's dead too. And I don't know, looking at this one stalk, there's only 2 leaves on this one plant here. So I'm going to cut off the smaller one, which has already gone entirely brown, and leave the one main stalk there. So as you can see, we're not left with very much on either plant. So I think I am definitely going to actually pot these two together to make one big, larger plant, and then we're just gonna have to find a new fresh plant to put in the new pot, in the other pot. So we're gonna end up with one plant here, okay? I think that's the best way to go considering the circumstances. Okay, I'm gonna repot these now, and I realized I'm gonna need some sort of vessel to hold the soil. I'll be right back. All right, here we go. I'm gonna take this one out. This soil is very, very dry. I don't think this plant has been watered in a while. This plant was brought over to my house during lockdown as well, so I don't think this plant has been given any attention in the last month. This soil mix is actually very light. It's cocoa coir. I feel like it needs to mix in with something else. I don't actually think this pot is too small to put both plants in together into the one pot, because it's not root bound at all. This root system hasn't actually developed very, very far. So potting these two together is going to be okay. I'm actually gonna wash that pot out, give it a really good scrub down, remove any bacteria that might be in there, and I'll be back. Okay, here we go. A fresh washed pot. I don't actually know how I'm gonna do this. These poor things are so thirsty. I'm gonna put some fresh soil in this at the base of this pot. This is not mine, but this is the Osmocote Premium Indoor Plants Potting Mix. It has all the fertilization and trace elements and all the proper soil ingredients that it needs to promote a healthy, happy plant. And I'm not going to completely remove the soil around the roots of this one because I don't want to shock it. Like, the poor thing has gone through enough, but I'm going to try and get as much of that soil off as I can without disturbing the roots too much. The stalks or the base of the plant were also tipping over in the pot a fair bit. I think because there just wasn't enough soil supporting the base of the plant. So I'm gonna pot this fairly deep within this pot. So now I'm gonna do this, position it to the side of it there, because I'm gonna want to put this other plant in with it. So I need to make some space in that. Just tipping out all that dry soil mix. So it hasn't actually developed a whole lot of a root system. It's in no way, shape, or form root bound or anything. As you can see, the soil mix is just coming off really easy. The roots have kind of formed around the base there. So I'm gonna have to try and fit that in with the other base, which is kind of formed around the base of that plant as well. Here we go. I'm just gonna try and remove some of that cocoa coir. Actually, looking at these roots, they've actually desiccated because this plant looks like it's gone through large seasons of drought. So from the looks of it, the watering has been really inconsistent. So the roots at the bottom of this plant have actually desiccated anyway. They don't look alive or healthy. So if I cut some of them off, it's not gonna matter because those roots have actually desiccated and died anyway, which is a shame, which kind of makes me really sad. But at the same time, it's okay. There is hope for this plant. It just doesn't look like it's very happy right now, poor thing. All right, so I'm just taking some of those old dead roots off. I wouldn't typically do this with any of my plants, to be honest, because I'm very against disturbing the roots in any way, shape, or form when repotting a plant. I know that's against popular opinion. I know some people like to remove the soil completely of their plants, and the only instance I would remove the soil, actually, like I'm doing right now, is in this instance when the soil mix itself doesn't look healthy for the plant, or when it's not suited to the plant's needs, especially in the current situation that this plant will be living in. It needs a soil mix that retains moisture a lot better. Okay, so I'm coming to a point here, I think, where the roots are still alive, so I'm not gonna disturb any higher than that. I'm just gonna cut off all the lower bits of the roots that have died off. This looks like I'm hacking into it, which honestly I kind of am, but at the same time I'm not disturbing the roots that are closer to the plant there. All right, it's just coming off really easily. Those roots are absolutely dry and dead. All right, there we go. All right, I'm gonna preserve this root ball as much as I can. All right, there we go. And now I'm just gonna do the same with the other plants. I'm glad I put this mat down, or this sheet, because I'm making a really big mess. I feel like I'm gonna have to be really rough to get the rest of that off, and I don't want to be any more rough with this thing. I don't think that stalk that I completely that stalk that I completely removed, oh my, this bit just fell off. But I'll show you guys. I don't think there was any hope for that anyway, because upon inspection, it's actually rotted off. Can you see this? Can you see this? I wish it would focus. Okay, see that? It wasn't even connected to the base of the plant. So that has rotted off completely. Okay, well, I'm kind of sad now. That whole bit has come off. I'm definitely gonna be recommending some other plants for this space. I'm actually feeling the base of this one now. I'm hoping that there's still some life left in it. Okay, it feels still firm at the bottom, and I don't think that one is completely gone, but this one is, so I'm gonna just cut off that bit there. Okay, I'm not left with very much here, am I? I think most of this now is the root systems of those two dead plants. So I'm going to try and remove as much of it as I can, because they're not gonna be any good to anything anymore. And instead, I'm just going to try and save this one bit that we've got left. All right, there we go. That'll do. All right, I'm gonna try and save this one. All right, feeling the base of these, I think there's still some life left in them. Let's hope so anyway. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Pot that one up. Then I'm gonna give it a really good drench down in the shower. Spray over with neem oil. I'm also going to fertilize it with a very weak solution of sea salt. Not power feed, because power feed is probably more for a plant that actually is healthy and growing and needs a feed, whereas this needs probably more of a soil conditioner, which is what sea salt is. So I'm just gonna put some soil in here, backfill this. Looking a little bit better. I think I am going to put those black ties around the base again, just to keep it together, give it a bit of support, you know, because we are better together. All right, there we go. I'm left with one plant. It actually has 3 growth points at the bottom, which is good. So I'm gonna give it a really good water down now. Poor thing is really thirsty. And then I'll do a bit of a cleanup, then I'll show you guys the overview of the finished thing. This is the finished product. I'm really sad I couldn't save both plants and end up with still 2 plants in both pots, but it is what it is. I have done my best with what I had with these 2 plants, and now it's 1 plant in 1 pot. It's got 3 growth points though at the base. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's gonna do better. I'm gonna keep an eye on it for the next few months, and hopefully it does do better. I'm going to suggest that I leave it in this space until it finds its roots again, until it reestablishes itself and it starts to gain some more strength, until it starts to at least shoot out another 2 growth points or 2 new leaves. Then I'm going to be confident that it's doing okay, and then I'll put it back in its space. I don't know, I don't feel right putting it back in its space before it's reestablished itself. So we'll see how I go, and we'll see how this plant goes, and maybe in a future video I will update you depending on where the plant is at the time. So anyway, this hopefully is going to be a plant hospital series on my channel. Depending how many of these in need of care plants that are sent my way, depending how many of those I get, I might make this into a series. Who knows, maybe not. Let me know in the comments if you like to see these kinds of videos, and then if you do, I'll keep making them. If you don't, then obviously I won't bother. But yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this one, and tell me in the comments what is one of your plants that really needs the most TLC right now. I must say, this was probably one of the worst cases that I've ever seen. It really needed a lot of care, and it needed a lot, as you saw in this video. So hopefully it does a bit better now. It's actually looking a lot better already. I did leave it in the shower for maybe 10 minutes, just so that those roots had time to soak up all that water. As you may have seen through the video, those roots were really dry and really desiccated, and they were just gone. It was like snapping dead twigs. So I left the roots that were still kind of had a little bit of life in them, but that water, it really needed it. So I did leave it in the shower for a fair while, just so that those roots could soak up some of that moisture. And I don't know if it's just me, but these leaves are already looking brighter and greener already. I don't know if it's just me, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just my imagination. But anyway, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you've chosen to spend your time here with me today, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.